Welcome back, everyone, for lesson 2. Now, coaching involves so many different types, it seems that we've invented a coaching style for just about anything these days. The International Coaching Federation describes coaching as an ongoing relationship that focuses on clients who are generally taking action toward a positive outcome related to their vision, goals, and desires. For example, consider what a life coach does. This type of coaching involves working with people who have mostly some degree or measure of success within their life, but maybe want to bridge gaps between where they are and where they'd really like to be in either their professional or personal lives. And this is slightly different than a lifestyle fitness coach. But because we are all still coaches, we still need to be mindful of how our clients typically believe or view the fact that they see their coaches already having demonstrated success and stability within their life. And in this way, it would imply that coaching emphasizes development a lot more than rehabilitation. Because coaches are generally encouraged to use a whole client-centered approach, this would normally involve trying to create balance between physical activity and a healthy, active lifestyle. In this way, coaching can be defined as a more holistic process that has the power to both balance and harmonize our client's life. This holistic approach is a more collaborative relationship which forwards action or deepens understanding based on trust and integrity. Therefore, we could say that coaching will focus on the goals, development, and dreams of the client who's being coached. But regardless of the type, we still use a lot of similar approaches in the allied coaching field, especially when we look at a comparison of all the different coaching styles that are in use. Lifestyle fitness coaching seems to be really closely aligned with other forms of coaching and in fact draws from a few life coaching principles to provide structure in delivering coaching interactions with clients. One basic coaching observation reveals that coach principles have to include the belief that the agenda must come from our client and that the primary purpose of the coaching relationship is solely to help our client in achieving the goals and results that they want. Now, there are 3 core agendas that are generally accepted as principles within the coaching field, and they include fulfillment, balance, and process, and we will explore each of these core agendas in the slides that follow. Now that we've identified and listed 3 main agendas, or the cores of coaching, let's look a little deeper at these cores to better understand how a coach might work them into the coaching process with the client. Now, it's been suggested over time that clients will typically enter into a coaching relationship with a hunger for fulfillment. On top of this, clients seem to be motivated to work with a coach because of some sort of perceived gap or shortcoming in their life. Coaches then would work to help a client in the process of working through these layers or definitions of fulfillment, generally progressing from external, tangible definitions to deeper value-based desires such as needs for learning and their spirituality. This agenda is also based on a coaching philosophy which promotes that fulfillment is not a matter of having, but a way of being. The second core agenda that we will describe is related to the client's beliefs about how they achieve balance across multiple dimensions within their life or lifestyle. Now, since we have mentioned multiple dimensions, we are also again hinting that there is a holistic approach being used in this style of coaching. And again, this is a client-centered approach, and these values are in fact coming from our client. Coaches then work with a client to identify satisfaction that they are experiencing with their career, health, finances, relationships, family, physical environment, or even their personal growth. Then the areas of dissatisfaction become the focus of coaching to bring clients' lives more into balance. The third and final core agenda that's identified by experts in coaching is the process, and this seems almost paradoxical within the coaching context. Now, with so much of the coaching literature currently emphasizing action directed towards a positive outcome, the process agenda relates more to the client's being skills, more so than always trying to make something happen. So try to reflect about your client and how they're being in the moment. And with all of the dimensions of coaching, you might then wonder how it's even possible to have enough expertise to be able to guide a client through such a wide range of interests, needs, or issues. And it's true that a lot of professional coaches will struggle with these concerns and generally work to resolve them through professional development or by selecting an area or field of specialization, like lifestyle fitness coaching. Most people consider it a good thing that in order for us to work as a health professional or a coach, we have to show that we've achieved a certain level of understanding and education. And in response to this, organizations that certify coaches in the health, wellness, or fitness industry have attempted to ensure that professionals manifest a high degree of skill and knowledge in these core areas. This has been both fueled and supported by advances that have been made in technology, and when this more technical base is aligned with life coaching skills, a reasonable portion of the full range of coaching interventions can be identified and structured by the coach. One way to piece all of this together when we think about technology and knowledge and coaching is to look at fitness. And one way to be able to fully appreciate the current meanings attached to our concepts of physical activity is to be able to look at a historical past or background at fitness and in the industry overall. Now, in the fitness industry, you might agree that growth has been so fast at times that certain trends have come to be known more as fads. And there are three distinct chapters of the modern fitness story. The first chapter really begins in the mid-1960s and has really contributed to our current state of what we currently know and believe about lifestyles and physical activity. The second chapter in the evolution of fitness really began around 1990 and is generally showing signs of transitioning into a third phase. And this third phase, or most recent stage, seems to be building on foundations of physical activity requirements, physical and psychological benefits, and programming options. What has followed is that the processes being used by coaches and trainers are more personalized, and fitness professionals, as an example, have been able to evaluate people in a way that allows for structuring and supporting programs that have been individualized for a client. For a lifestyle fitness coach or a lifestyle wellness coach, one of your basic tasks would first be to help a client understand their options and how their personal interest and patterns correlate with their goals. So if you were able to offer a new client or a new exerciser access to information and have intelligent conversations that would guide them toward physical activity that matches their lifestyle orientations, their personalities, or even their agendas for personal development, you would be then giving your client exactly what they're paying for. Therefore, it might be useful to then know how people come by change. Since human beings are creatures of habits, we eventually become what we do. And the more we engage in a particular behavior, the more natural it becomes to us, and the more it represents our way of living or lifestyle. The saying that sport builds character is also a suggestion that being physically active can shape our personality. But if personality appears in habits and behavior or patterns of relating to the world, is the coach really able to have an effect on this? We know the answer is yes, but it's still a good idea to be cautious based on research telling us that change for clients is not a simple matter. Now, clients will generally come to us with long histories that shape and support their behavior patterns. And these patterns have worked in their favor in the best of times or circumstances, but recognize that a lot of clients look to you for something that's not working well for them. So they may be struggling with consistency, or maybe they're in the middle of a major life transition. The client's motivation for being physically active can then be either simple or pretty intricate. So clients will come to you maybe for a desire to lose weight or tone up or reduce their risk of heart disease. If you are able to take into account your client's patterns and their lifestyle, the likelihood of you being successful and guiding your client toward their goal will increase. It's probably not surprising that life comes at most of us, including our clients, in more or less a comfortable way until something happens to shake things up or to make current patterns outdated, ineffective, or just generally unsatisfying to our client. Instead of continuing with the status quo or the way things are, clients will then seek out a rational choice of change. And this is normal. And even when we try to avoid change, life can still push change upon us. As humans, we have many automatic behaviors, and we easily fall into these patterns or habits. When we are under stress, some of these habits can be more pronounced. Now, by strict definition, any change, even positive change, can be stressful. So when our needs change, changes to a lifestyle are put on the agenda for our client. It means that sometimes old habits have to be dropped, or the client will have to behave differently. Another predictor of how we adapt to reality might be an indicator of our level of mental health. Sometimes, if not addressed, these behaviors or adaptations can result in us continuing to apply the same solutions to the problems of life, even though they repeatedly bring failure or dissatisfaction to our client. A lifelong habit of fitness needs to be viewed in light of core changes that clients can create and include physical, psychological, social, and even spiritual changes. Most of us already know that physical activity can serve as a pathway to personal growth, especially when programs are conscientiously designed with the lifestyle and personal development of our client's agenda. Designing the right physical activity or fitness program for your client can make it possible for them to learn new ways of coping, more effective strategies for action, new ways of relating, and a more integrated approach to living. We know that genetics can play a significant role in behaviors, but life experience also has a strong influence on personality. Your client may not be able to change all of their personal characteristics, but there is clear evidence that clients can change some personal traits with some directed efforts. Personality characteristics include how we behave, especially in relationships and with other people. But personality traits reveal distinctions about how clients feel about their self-confidence or other personality traits. And this can have an effect on how the client views physical activity, for example. As their coach, it's important to understand what portion of personality is being determined by genetics and what part is the result of life experience. This is a really important or critical question, as we need to know how much room there is for change in our client's lifestyle. So we have learned that there are no limits to change, and that there is also little doubt that personality can be influenced through a variety of activities. All sports or physical activities have rules and demands, and if we are to participate, we are expected to obey these rules and controls that are required for physical actions and even our personal psychology. We also should be able to see how the underlying structure of physical activity can now support personal development. To do that, we will look at 3 integrated perspectives that allow us to see the structure of how this all comes together. The first are the psychosocial demands for clients who do participate and how they need to be considered. The second would be the demand of our clients' muscular and skeletal systems that are used in the activities chosen, and these must be known to both the coach and the client. Lastly, the coach must be able to communicate properly the demands of any movement or activity that relate to a chosen activity for our client to be able to execute things successfully. What does having strong muscles have to do with our personality? To be able to appreciate the relevance here, let's picture 2 different body type extremes. The first subject has really strong legs, but a relatively weaker upper body, whereas the second subject has pretty powerful arms, shoulders, back muscles, and a strong abdominal or core section, but relatively less developed legs. When matched up against each other in a series of contests, the first subject would probably win all of the foot races and would be able to hold his ground during competition, but the second subject would likely prevail or win with contests that relate to things like arm wrestling, bench pressing or lifting, and other types of manually controlled movement. And the relevance here is that in psychological terms, the upper body has more closely been related to social control and manipulation, whereas the lower body is thought to influence movement and emotional stability or grounding, such as an anchor. And this is just an example of some of the psychological attachments that clients cling to. A lot of the current thinking about body structure and function in relation to personality arises from a subspecialty of clinical and counseling psychology and mostly derived from case studies instead of large sample statistical research. For this reason alone, we have to be cautious with the interpretations of this research. One common sense approach that lifestyle fitness coaches can then easily understand is the relationship between physical development and functional usage. For clients, the functions of muscles will also have psychological implications. Think about someone who perhaps has a state of depression over an injury. This is a psychological condition that arises directly from being hurt. The strength of muscles and flexibility of joints partly determines the client's range of behaviors as well as their social realities as created through physical impressions. So there is a connection between structure and function and our client's personality. In Lesson 2, we have talked about some of the core principles, including fulfillment, bridging gaps, and balance, and how these are seen as the motivation for some of our clients' behaviors. We've also learned that these items are affected by and have effects on clients' change efforts. We then explored ways that coaches have to adopt the proper perspectives when looking at a client's whole life in order to develop client-centered strategies that are holistic in nature. Now, some clients will retain a coach to get them to be more physically active or to program exercise variables for them, but it's also important to keep in mind the big picture for our client, which is that we essentially want to get our clients moving and toward a path of peak health, wellness, and fitness.